Local school district in Utah has decided to ban the Bible for elementary and middle school children. Is that really the appropriate thing to do? We're going to discuss that today on the Left Wing. My name is Desmond Price, the host of the Independent Thought Podcast. I'm joined by my co-hosts, John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics and Dr. Erica of Cocktails and Capitalism. So, there is a school district in northern Salt Lake, a suburb of Salt Lake City, that has decided to ban the Bible for elementary and middle school children, but not high school children. This is all coming into effect because of a decision that happened during the 2022 legislative session in Utah, where lawmakers banned "quote unquote" pornographic and indecent books in school. And the Utah State Board of Education created a model and policy to allow school districts to go ahead and to monitor any kind of books that were brought up as far as parents were concerned that they felt needed review. So the Davis School District, which is home to 72,000 students, they had gone ahead and done this. This is the school district in question. This came after a committee reviewed the Bible in response to a parent's complaint, and the parent in particular was left to was actually their identity was not revealed, so they were left anonymous. But a spokesperson for the school district said that the district does not actually see a difference between requests to review books and ones that might be serious and one that might be satire. So they take every single request seriously. They reviewed it, came to a conclusion that they would in fact ban it. And this has come, after lots of protests by Republican lawmakers and by parents who showed up at the Utah State Capitol demanding that this decision be reversed. And later on, it was seen that a spokesperson, later on, a complaint was found where they were able to see what exactly this parent's complaint was. They were able to dig this up through a records request. And the copy says that a complaint obtained by the Salt Lake Tribune through a public records request shows that the parent noted that the Bible contains instances of incest, prostitution, and rape. The complaint derided a quote unquote bad faith process and said that the district was ceding our children's education, First Amendment rights, and library access to Parents United. Utah Parents United left off one of the most sex-ridden books around, the Bible, the parents' complaint said. This was dated from December 11th and went on to add that you'll no doubt find that the Bible, under state law, has no serious value for minors because it's pornographic by our new definition. That was the parents' complaint levied. So, question to my panel here. Is it okay to ban the Bible? Is this the right thing to do? John, what are your thoughts on this?
I respect the satire of it. Yeah. In practice, I ideologically stand against it. I think that the parent who did this is making a great point that there is no reason to be banning books in libraries in school, because the thing about libraries is, one, kids don't use them, and two, if they want to use them, everything in the library, like, kids aren't dumb, they can access it online and whatever, or they can get it, Yeah. So if you're banning a book from a library, it's just dumb. It's always dumb. And banning the Bible is also dumb. I think banning the Bible from classrooms is dumb. I can't tell you how many times I get in conversations, because I cover the Bible a lot. I was raised Catholic. I know a lot about it. And I can't tell you how many times I get the comments from conservatives like, oh, well, if they taught the Bible in school, you'd be pissed off. I'm like, no, I learned the Bible in school. I had multiple classes that deeply covered the Bible, as well as the Quran, as well as Hindu texts, as well as Chinese, the Chinese different, they weren't necessarily, religions, but Confucianism and all that sort of stuff. And we covered all of these in our world literature classes, and they provided a ton of value to me, including when we learned about the Bible. So I don't think these things should be taken out of school, should be taken out of curriculums ever at all. Because again, they have value. If it's actually straight up pornographic, you would get in jail for showing it to a kid. Yeah, sure. No, take that. If that's in a school library somewhere in this country, take it out. Otherwise, keep it in there. What's the problem? If you don't want your kid to read it, tell your kid not to read it. Control your own kid. Don't take away access to books from other people's kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree with everything that John just said. I mean, it is straight up wrong to be banning books. Um, on a personal level, I get a lot of gratification out of hearing this news
Me too.
and feeling like like, oh, okay, these like idiot Republicans that keep trying to censor like legitimate content and sex education and everything else, like they're finally getting this handed to them. But I don't think it's really going to work like that. I don't think that these conservative Republican types are going to see this and then say, oh, well, we shouldn't be banning books because this is bad and I don't like this. If that was going to be the case, if this was going to be a strategy to get the right to change course, then that would be amazing. And I still, even if it's just satire and it's just making a point, I'm still somewhat amazed by it and pleased by it. But I don't think that in general it is right to be going down this path and then using the same techniques that the Republicans use against them is definitely a slippery slope of like, okay, well then we're saying that it's fine to do that. We're condoning that approach by doing the exact same thing. Not something we want to be doing.
No, the irony isn't lost on me. I like I was like cackling when I first saw this story.
Yeah.
It's absolutely hysterical to me. Uh it just highlights the absurdity of some of these laws around the country. I mean, not just this Utah law, but obviously there's laws being put in place to kind of go after libraries in Missouri and in Arkansas. In Florida, they're trying to censor, like different educational books. Obviously, we've seen what's happening with DeSantis, happening in my state of Montana. And this authoritarian push is becoming too much. Like I know that we all feel that, but like we need to be like stating it over and over and over and over again how absurd this all is the fact that, especially like obviously pivoting to Florida for a second here, you have the ability there for any parent to object to basically anything, and then it gets just taken out of school. Like that one parent who like objected to children watching Strange World in the classroom, that a teacher got investigated because there was a gay character in the
Oh my
movie and it was
God.
mentioned for like all of 12 seconds.
Jesus.
And so now here in Utah, you have a similar idea where any parent can go and petition to have any book removed out of a school district. And that is just patently absurd to me. I don't understand what exactly. I mean, I understand what like Republicans as a whole are trying to do by this. They're more or less just trying to control society by the viewpoint that they think that we should all be living by. The party that's constantly claiming that they care about freedoms is trying to oppress everyone else's freedoms. Irony in and of itself. But everyone else who isn't in that like radical viewpoint, I'm not sure why more people aren't speaking up against what is happening in these states. Because I mean, truthfully, seriously, like what road does this lead us down to if we're constantly censoring everything that someone doesn't like?
You brought up the the authoritarianism, which I'm realizing is just a through line of all of our topics this week.
Yeah.
But we don't really do a good job in the American education system of covering authoritarianism and fascism, and we look at things through a rose-colored, or should I say red, white, and blue-colored lens. However, the one freaking thing that we know that fascists like to do is ban books. Right? Like that's the one thing that like every child in America is taught. Totally. Yep, the Nazis, that's what they did. They banned books. They didn't like the Jews, they banned books. Everyone in America can tell you that. And then people will unironically support book bans. And it's like,
yeah.
What people are like, oh, why didn't anyone stop the Nazis? And it's like, and I'm not saying that banning the Bible or banning any book in Florida is going to create Nazis, but it's like, well, that's what they did. That's how it started, guys. Yeah. And it's a slippery slope argument, sure, but like you should still be against it. Like it's still not a good thing. And just harkening back to what I said earlier, it's like even get your books in libraries, whatever's in the curriculum, whatever it is. I fundamentally don't understand the mindset of I don't want my kid learning this.
Yeah.
And so instead of taking personal responsibility for my child's education and teaching them what I want them to learn and fighting in the free marketplace of ideas, Because if you're right, then you're right, right? Like if you're right, then your kid's going to agree with you if you can convince them. Why are you being a lazy person and expecting the state to do this for you? Take some personal responsibility for your own child's education if that's what you want to do.
Very good. Very good.
Oh,
Yeah,
John,
totally.
you're trying to actually appeal to their common sense as
I
if there is
love
common
it.
sense applied
Well,
here.
no. You bring up a good point there, Desmond. But like, there are plenty of conservatives, and there are plenty of people on the left who have no common sense, who are just in the cult, in the bubble, you know. But I fundamentally don't believe that's most people, and a lot of them are kind of in the cult, but also kind of think for themselves. And this is one of those issues where if you just really drill down into it, it goes against conservative ideology. It goes against small government. It goes against these things that they do know they believe ideologically. So if you like, I think personally, it provides us on the left the opportunity to get rid of the cognitive dissonance. When we have conversations with conservatives about these things, those two ideas, that we should have a small government and government should ban books, are ideologically opposed. And it does provide an opportunity as a Trojan horse to be like, hey, this is wrong, right? We don't want to be like the Nazis, right? And you can get them to agree to that. And then that can cause a domino effect where they start to realize, hey, this other thing that my tribe is doing doesn't quite make sense. And I do think that issues like this are the wedge issues that can pry people out of their bubbles. Maybe I'm optimistic, but I do think this is one of them.
I just want to respond to that really quickly before you jump in here, Erica. I'm glad that you are on this show, John, because someone needs to be the optimist, okay? Because all of my optimisim,
oh God,
way out the window, way out the window.
You guys called me the optimist last week, and I was like, "What? Everything's burning."
My show's about drinking.
And our capitalist hellscape. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some days where I want to be the optimist with you, you know, but there's other days where I don't know. It's really hard for me. You know, when I think of Republicans claiming to be the party of wanting to be small government, okay. But, you know, when I was first learning about politics, you know, back in like the late 2000s, we had a president by the name of George W. Bush who tripled the size of government under his administration. And it was not a problem. And increased the security, the surveillance state, not a problem. Increased the police state, not a problem. Then you have Trump who comes in and it's like, hey, we need to figure out what's going on with this deficit. We got to get all this spending under control. And then he, you know, gives a tax cut to the wealthy, and the deficit goes up every single year. Spending goes up every single year. And the whole time, everyone on the right's like, yeah, not a problem. So I guess I'm just like, do you actually believe any of those things? Or is it you believe them when you're criticizing Democrats, but when Republicans do it, you're all of a sudden, all of your morals go out the window? So I just really wonder how much partisan brain rot there actually is in this country versus, you know, people who actually have these morals and truly believe in these issues they claim to believe in. But I'm glad that you are the optimist, because it'll balance this thing out a little bit more.
Yeah, and I really hope that, John, you are right, and that these kind of issues and highlighting the contradictions and inconsistencies in the conservative viewpoint will persuade or start to drive some folks to start questioning their perspective. So much of thinking on the right is inconsistent, is contradictory, and like as Donald Trump proved, like the right doesn't care about those inconsistencies. They don't care if someone goes and says something and then the next minute goes and says the exact opposite of that. They'll still show up and support that person. You know, like I have a lot of cynicism about even the value of logical consistency that people on the right are holding. You know, they don't. It seems like that has started to dissolve and just go out the window, where you can even appeal to common sense. You can even appeal to reason, to consistency like that. I don't know. I'm hopeful, though, that there are some folks who will hear the points that you're making and they will say, oh, yeah, actually, book bans probably aren't the way, like that is big government. And I don't like that. So yeah, maybe I'm against that actually. Hopefully, but my hope is like this much at this point.
And I encourage anyone who is feeling that way right now, speak out against your own party, the same way that I speak out against the liberal Democrats that I know you guys see me doing all the time. And I get pushback from my own party, from my own side when I do it. But if you're conservative, listen to this right now for some reason, and you're agreeing with me, like, yeah, no, we shouldn't ban books. That's against our First Amendment rights. You got to call out your own side when they do it, or else you're complicit. In the same way that I would be complicit if I didn't call out Joe Biden for, I don't know, slipping in a new pipeline into the debt deal when my entire city is covered in smoke.
Oh, we're gonna get to that,
which we will be getting to. But yeah, no, we got to always pressure our politicians to actually follow our ideologies, or else they will kind of do their own thing that goes against what we even believe for the reasons that we voted them in for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last point that I want to make is that, just from where I stand, don't agree with the book ban. And I know that some people were saying it's, like a separation of church and state issue. I don't feel that way personally. I don't think the Bibles or any religious text present in the school system, is somehow like integrating church and state. I think if you're mandating teaching the Bible, if you're mandating teaching the Quran, that's a different story. But allowing people to have the Bible, the Quran, any religious text present, in a school is not somehow like dissolving the barriers of church and state. I truthfully don't believe that. And I don't think that we should be banning books at all. And I agree with you, John. We need to be pushing back on our own elected representatives more. That is, that's the best way to dissolve this partisan brain rot that we see happening so much on both sides, which I think when we covered Title 42 a few weeks back, something that we were all talking about, which was kind of like the pitfalls with the Biden administration and their views on immigration policy. So yeah, I hope that there are some conservatives listening to this, and I hope that this sparks something in order for them to realize that, like, hey, maybe the Republican Party isn't making the right decision with these book bans.